This is real money. Some people call it junk. Other people call it constitutional. But according to our Constitution, this was and is real money. But they don't make this anymore. So what are we supposed to do with it? Is it worth stacking? Should we be hoarding it? Should we be stacking it? Should we be using it? And if so, why? Stick with us, because today we're going to talk junk. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about constitutional silver, 90% typically, particularly. We'll talk about some of the different types of silver coinage, but I wanted to talk about the current state of our economy and why I believe constitutional silver, why old constitutional currency is so important. And listen, I'm just a guy on YouTube. These are my thoughts. I'm just sharing with you my thoughts. You need to study and make your own decisions about your finances, about your wealth and how you go about protecting your wealth. But I'm going to give you my opinion about these things today. And certainly I would love to hear from you and what you think. Do you stack constitutional silver? Are you saving constitutional silver? Do you buy constitutional silver? What are your thoughts on this? And so these are just my thoughts. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing, for all of those who have really supported this channel in the first few months of our existence. You've been wonderful. I appreciate all the feedback, the comments, the likes, the shares. I mean, you guys are awesome, and I really hope that you stick with us and continue to support our channel. Now, what are we doing here? Well, I'm reminded that Thomas Jefferson once said, "I sincerely believe that banking institutions are the most dangerous thing to our liberties, more so than standing armies. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs." Now, we've seen this in our day and age. We've seen how the banking institutions in our government has devalued the dollar. We have overspent, we have overcharged, we have overborrowed. Our monetary system is out of control. Now, originally in 1792, there was the Coinage Act of 1792 that introduced gold and silver as real money. The Coinage Act of 1792 allowed for the establishment of the U.S. Mint and defined what a dollar was and how much a dollar should weigh in silver. It recognized both silver and gold as forms of money. And they specified the weight and the composition of the various denominations of gold and silver and what those should be. It specified that the denominations and designs of coins that were to be minted, including the eagle, the half dollar, the quarter dollar, the dime, the half dime, all of these were silver or 90% silver. And so from that time up until 1965, so 64 and earlier, all quarters, dimes, half dollars were made of 90% silver. So the 1964 half dollar, the Ben Franklin half dollars, the Walking Liberty half dollars, and onward back, right? They were all 90% silver. 64 and earlier quarters, including the Standing Liberty quarter and all the other, they were all 90% silver. Dimes, including the Barber dimes and the Mercury dimes, they were all 90% silver. Now, in 1965, that changed. And from 65 to 70, half dollars, the Kennedy half dollars from 65 to 70 were minted in 40% silver. Here was the problem. Let's go back in history just a little further. The Fed was formed in 1913. The Fed was formed in the late 19th, early 20th century when the United States was experiencing a series of financial panics and banking crises. The Panic of 1907 was one of the forerunners to all of this. These crises were characterized by bank runs, financial instability, a lack of central authority to provide liquidity and stabilize the banking system. So our federal government decided that they were going to step in. They were going to step in, and the United States did not have a central bank at that time, right? So its banking system was fragmented with private banks who issued their own currencies. But this lack of central control over the money supply in the banking system contributed somewhat to the economic instability and made it difficult to respond effectively to financial crises. By having a central authority, the government could influence interest rates, money supply, credit conditions. So the government aimed to do a better job managing the economy, stabilizing prices, and promoting full-time employment. And, well, we all know what a great job the federal government does every time they step in. So the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 was aimed to reform the banking sector. But what it did was it cut the legs out from under the United States Constitution when it comes to real money and what real money is supposed to be. Within 20 years, in 1933, FDR devalued the dollar by changing the original gold standard. Now, prices for gold and silver continued to rise to the point where it was costing more to mint this stuff than it was worth by face value, right? So a quarter actually contained more than a $0.25 worth of silver. A $0.50 contained more than a $0.50 worth of silver. So they decided to stop because people were taking all of this. They were hoarding it. They were melting it down. The silver was being depleted. And so the United States moved away because of cost production. Now, we've seen that in our time. There's been many efforts to get rid of the 1 cent piece, the United States 1 cent piece, the Lincoln cent, because even in the copper, it cost more. And now in the zinc, it cost more to produce a cent than the cent is actually worth. So we've seen this in the past and we see it again now. So what happens to all of the silver? Well, after this all takes place, in 1971, the gold standard is completely emptied. It's ended, it's done, and we convert everything into Federal Reserve note coinage. So that's where we get the denominations now of $1, $5, $10, $20, $50, and everything is backed by this fiat monetary system, that's backed by who knows what, right? Our United States military, it's not our debt, it's not gold. What are we backing our monetary system with? The reality is it's not backed by anything. And so what happens? Well, we end up with some financial problems in our country. Hyperinflation, the currency crises, government mismanagement, political instability, loss of trust, excessive debt, economic imbalances, all because we have gone away from constitutional money. Now, what could we have done or what can we do? That's another topic for another video, or this video will be way too long. But for you and I today, what do we do with constitutional silver? Now, I'm going to tell you what I do. This is what I do. When it comes to stacking constitutional silver, I come at it with a couple different approaches. Now, one is that when it comes to stacking for, let's say, bartering, if the zombie apocalypse happens tomorrow and we've got to start bartering because we can't get to the bank, we can't get this wonderful fiat dollar that we have, right, to buy things and pay things, how are we going to do that? Well, let me say, first of all, you better have some food and you better have some pow juice to protect all your stuff, right? I hope that was okay. You have a stockpile of things that you can survive on. I'm not telling you to go out and be a crazy survivalist or do a bunch of crazy stuff. Now, I'm just telling you, be prepared. You know, have a couple months of food, have your pantry filled up, have personal protection things available to you. And then I stack silver. I stack as best I can BU and AU, quarters, dimes, and half dollars. Now, why BU and AU? Well, circulated money wears and the silver content wears. Now, if we get to this point in our in our world where we're going to lose the use of the fiat dollar and we've got to go to this, I promise you this, because it's happened before. When you go to turn in your silver, maybe you want to turn your silver in, you want to buy something with the silver, your silver dealer is he's not just going to take the face value. Now, right now, face value is around, let's say it's around $19 as we record this video. Face value for constitutional 90% is around $19, give or take, depending on what it is. But if it hits the fan and you have to turn your silver in, they're going to weigh it. They're not going to give you a face value, a dollar face value for your silver. They're going to weigh it and they're going to give you its value in its weight. So what I have here is I have a roll of BU Roosevelt dimes. These are BU, AU, BU Roosevelt dimes. Not very much wear to them at all. In this, I have a roll of Mercury dimes. Now, Mercury dimes and the Roosevelt dime, because of the Fed Act and how coinage was made, they're the same diameter, they're the same weight, the same silver content, and both of these have the same amount. But you can see there's less in this one than there is in this one. And if we weigh them, we notice that the Roosevelt dimes are about 130.5 grams. But if we weigh the full roll of Mercury dimes, we're at less than 127.5 grams. So less than 3 grams, more than 3 grams difference between these two full rolls. So when it comes to stacking as an investment, stacking for, bartering scenarios, I'm stacking AU to BU, silver, halves, dimes, and quarters. And particularly 90% pre-65 Kennedy halves, right? 64 Kennedy halves. I'm not stacking the 65 through the 70s. There are only 40% silver in these, okay? Get rid of these, turn them into real gold. Nickels. During World War II, from 1942 to 1945, nickels were minted with 35% silver. Now, there are still buyers out there for these. Now, most smelters, refiners, they're probably not going to give you much of anything for this, but there are collectors out there that will pay you for 35% war nickels, silver war nickels. So, having some of those around, I do have tubes of these, sell them occasionally as I continue to add to my tubes. But I focus primarily on Roosevelt dimes, Washington quarters, and 64 Kennedys, because they're going to have the most opportunity to be AUBU and to have the most silver content in them. Now, the other thing is this. I do also collect just, this old Morgan dollar, but this Morgan dollar is probably 25 bucks, right? I mean, in the silver itself. Walking Liberties, Ben Franklin's, Ben Franklin's, I put in the same category as the 40%. They're 90%, yes. But you're not going to get much for the Benjis. You're just not, unless they're key dates or they're really BUs. You're not going to get much for those. You're looking at $9 to $10 a piece for those most of the time. But when it comes to some of the older, I collect these and I buy these for my collection. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if we just look at like these Morgan, or these Barber dimes, 1916 Barber dimes, 1912D Barber dimes. I have a 1903 here, and these are mostly G4 condition. But these are $5 to $6 a piece, wholesale. These are $5 to $6 a piece in wholesale. You're going to get about $1.90 for them when it comes to just junk, quote unquote, junk prices, right? And so if I'm building a set of Barber dimes, I'm going to buy at junk prices and then call through what I need, right? And build my set and then maybe turn around and sell some of those. Same way with standing Liberty quarters. These standing Liberty quarters run about $9 a piece. You're not going to get that out of 90% junk prices. The same with my, older half dollars like the Walking Liberties. So that's how I go about my constitutional silver and how I stack and how I collect. It's real money. It's useful. And let's face it, they're just not making this stuff anymore, right? It's becoming more and more rare. And so more and more people are collecting it, they're hoarding it. And so having a good stockpile of this is just one other way to diversify your silver stack. I hope this was helpful. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Please think about subscribing to our channel. Share, like. I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Write in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. I'll try to respond to all of them that I can. In the meantime, watch another video right here, and we're going to be back again real soon with another video. Until then, take care, everybody.